The bustling airport was alive with the sound of announcements, rolling luggage, and murmured conversations. Inside the boarding area for Flight 274, a select group of passengers prepared for their journey in first class. The airline was known for its luxurious service, where comfort and style promised a seamless experience. The scent of freshly brewed coffee wafted through the air, blending with the faint hum of idle jet engines. Travelers in business suits, elegant dresses, and tailored blazers sat in plush seats, awaiting the final boarding call. Amidst the crowd, a distinct figure stood out, a tall, dignified man with a commanding presence. Dressed in an impeccably tailored suit, the black billionaire carried himself with the grace and poise of someone accustomed to success. His quiet demeanor, however, hinted at humility rather than arrogance. As he approached the gate, a polite smile played on his lips, greeting the staff with a warm nod. The staff responded with professional courtesy, unaware of the unfolding drama ahead. As the flight attendant prepared for boarding, she adjusted her polished uniform and reviewed her passenger list. Olivia, a longtime employee, prided herself on her efficiency and attention to detail. However, beneath her professional exterior lay a prejudice she rarely confronted, one that occasionally surfaced in her interactions. Today, unbeknownst to her, that bias would lead to unforeseen consequences. The billionaire, who went by Marcus Grant, was no stranger to judgment. Throughout his life, he had overcome countless obstacles, rising from humble beginnings to build an empire. His sharp business acumen and generosity earned him widespread respect. Yet he knew all too well that wealth and success couldn't shield him from prejudice. As he settled into his first-class seat, he noticed Olivia's lingering gaze, a look that felt far from welcoming. The first-class cabin was immaculate, with cream-colored leather seats and individual screens already displaying a list of in-flight entertainment. Passengers sipped complimentary champagne as the flight attendant moved through the cabin with a practiced smile. Olivia greeted most passengers warmly but hesitated as she reached Marcus. Her gaze lingered, and her smile faltered, replaced by a strained politeness that didn't go unnoticed. Marcus, accustomed to reading people, chose not to react. Instead, he calmly unpacked his laptop, placing it on the tray table before leaning back in his seat. The cabin buzzed with quiet anticipation for the flight to take off, but the tension between Marcus and Olivia created an undercurrent of unease. Several passengers exchanged curious glances, sensing something unusual in the interaction. As the pre-flight service began, Olivia moved briskly through the aisles, serving beverages and small plates of hors d'oeuvres. When she reached Marcus's seat, her hands paused for a moment before deliberately skipping him. She offered drinks to the passenger across the aisle, ignoring Marcus entirely. The billionaire watched with a raised eyebrow but said nothing, his calm demeanor masking any irritation. When the initial service concluded, Marcus politely signaled to Olivia. "Excuse me," he said, his voice measured, "may I have a glass of water, please?" Olivia hesitated before offering a curt response. "I'll be with you shortly," she replied, moving away without fulfilling his request. The slight was subtle but deliberate, and Marcus knew he was being singled out. His composed exterior remained unshaken, though the sting of disrespect lingered. Despite the tension, Marcus remained composed. Years of dealing with prejudice had taught him patience and restraint. He adjusted his watch and took a deep breath, deciding to let the flight attendant's behavior slide. He reasoned that her actions reflected her ignorance, not his worth. No need to escalate, he thought, his focus shifting to the work he needed to complete during the flight. Meanwhile, Olivia noticed his calm demeanor and mistook it for weakness. She felt emboldened, her prejudice manifesting in small, deliberate slights. When Marcus politely asked for assistance again, she rolled her eyes and muttered under her breath before responding. The billionaire, still composed, thanked her as though she had offered exemplary service. Passengers nearby observed the interaction, some quietly wondering why she was being so dismissive. When pre-flight checks concluded, Olivia began distributing menus for the in-flight meal service. She skipped Marcus's seat entirely, offering menus to other first-class passengers with a pleasant smile. As she moved back toward the galley, Marcus raised his hand. "Excuse me, I didn't receive a menu," he said courteously. Olivia glanced at him with a tight-lipped smile, saying, "Oh, you must be in the wrong seat. Let me check." Marcus reached for his boarding pass, calmly handing it to her. "I believe I'm in the right place," he said, his tone firm but polite. Olivia examined the ticket, her expression unreadable. Instead of apologizing, she handed it back brusquely and muttered, "I'll see what I can do," before disappearing into the galley. Other passengers exchanged uncomfortable glances, sensing an underlying unfairness. Moments later, Olivia returned with 2 uniformed security personnel. "Sir," she began with a rehearsed air of authority, "I'm going to have to ask you to step off the plane. It appears there's been some confusion with your seating arrangement." The passengers gasped as Marcus stood, calmly holding out his boarding pass once more. "There's no confusion," he said evenly. "I purchased this seat." The security guards examined the pass and nodded, confirming its validity. Still, Olivia insisted. "He's being disruptive," she claimed, her tone sharp. Marcus's gaze didn't waver. "I'm happy to leave if it's truly necessary," he said, gathering his belongings with quiet dignity. The guards, uncomfortable but compliant, escorted him off the plane. The cabin fell silent, the injustice hanging heavy in the air. As Marcus exited the aircraft, whispers erupted among the passengers. Some pulled out their phones, recording the incident. A well-dressed woman in the back row muttered, "That man didn't do anything wrong. This is disgraceful." Another passenger nodded in agreement but said nothing aloud. Olivia, however, returned to her duties, her expression smug as though she had just solved a problem. Outside the plane, Marcus stood in the boarding area, adjusting his tie and taking a steadying breath. He could feel the eyes of onlookers on him but refused to let humiliation take hold. Instead of lashing out, he reached for his phone and began making calls. Within minutes, his demeanor transformed from a calm passenger to a determined man on a mission. Back in the cabin, the mood was tense. Passengers exchanged murmurs of discontent, some openly questioning Olivia's actions. "Did you see how polite he was? He didn't deserve that," one man whispered to his seatmate. Others nodded, their unease growing as they reflected on the incident. Some even considered filing complaints but hesitated, unsure of the consequences. Olivia noticed the shifting atmosphere but dismissed it. "They'll forget about this by the time we land," she thought. However, her confidence began to waver as she overheard snippets of passenger conversations. The seeds of doubt crept in, though she refused to acknowledge them fully. In her mind, she had done nothing wrong, at least not yet. Seated in the airport lounge, Marcus made a series of swift, calculated moves. He first contacted his legal team, providing a detailed account of the incident. "Document everything," he instructed, his voice steady but resolute. Next, he reached out to his corporate connections, knowing that one phone call could ignite a chain reaction. "Get me the board members of this airline," he said, his tone leaving no room for delay. Meanwhile, the flight remained grounded, delayed due to what the captain vaguely referred to as technical issues. Passengers grew restless, their curiosity piqued by the earlier confrontation. Olivia noticed the delay but remained oblivious to the storm brewing outside. Marcus, however, was far from done. His calm exterior masked a determination to ensure no one else would endure what he had just experienced. As the minutes passed, Marcus sat back in the lounge, his mind working through the possibilities. He knew that this incident, though a personal slight, could be turned into an opportunity. His first call was to a high-powered lawyer he trusted. "I need your help," Marcus said, his voice calm but urgent. "I've just been removed from a flight for no reason other than prejudice. I need this documented and handled with the full force of the law." His lawyer immediately set into motion a team of legal experts to handle the matter, assuring him that his case would not go unnoticed. The second call was to a close friend and influential business mogul in the airline industry. "I need a favor," Marcus said. "Find out who owns this airline. I want to know who's behind the boardroom door, and I need it fast." The friend, sensing that Marcus was not one to ask for help lightly, promised swift action. The wheels of corporate power began to turn, and Marcus knew that the path ahead would be paved with significant changes. His own personal resolve was now tied to something larger than just this incident. Back on the plane, as the passengers settled into their seats, murmurs about the incident continued to ripple through the cabin. Olivia had resumed her duties, but she could feel the growing tension in the air. The captain, who had been informed of the situation, was receiving reports from the ground crew. He knew that something about the situation was off, but he was unaware of the gravity of the situation. By the time the plane reached its destination, Olivia was oblivious to the storm brewing in the corporate world. Marcus's legal team worked quickly. They filed a formal complaint and drafted a press release to ensure the story wouldn't be buried. The media was quick to pick up on the story of a billionaire being removed from a plane, with many commentators questioning the airline's treatment of customers. The legal pressure mounted, and public backlash against the airline's discriminatory actions began to build. As the story of the black billionaire's removal from the plane spread, media outlets erupted in a frenzy. Headlines screamed, "Airline kicks out black billionaire for no reason," and "Prejudice on board, the shocking treatment of a business mogul." Social media exploded with support for Marcus, with countless people expressing outrage at the airline's treatment of him. Hashtags like #JusticeForMarcus and #BoycottAirline flooded Twitter, creating a viral movement in a matter of hours. Marcus, however, remained resolute and calm as the media storm unfolded. He let his lawyer handle the press inquiries, maintaining his focus on the next steps. He had known that with his wealth and influence, he had the power to turn this incident into a catalyst for change. As the world watched, Marcus carefully calculated his next move, knowing full well that his actions in the coming days could reshape the future of the airline industry. Meanwhile, Marcus's friend in the airline industry had managed to get him the names of the airline's major stakeholders. He was quick to identify key board members and powerful investors who had influence over the company. With this information, Marcus set up a series of meetings with these individuals. "I need to meet with you," he told one major shareholder, a renowned venture capitalist. "It's time for a change in leadership at your airline." The venture capitalist, taken aback, agreed to a meeting on the condition that Marcus would lay out his vision for the company. In these meetings, Marcus began to make his case. He discussed his long-term goals, highlighting how his leadership could not only bring financial growth but also a much-needed cultural shift within the airline. His pitch wasn't just about the incident, it was about transformation. He promised a better future for the airline's employees, passengers, and shareholders. With his persuasive and confident demeanor, Marcus began to gather allies in the corporate world, subtly shifting the balance of power. Back at the airline, Olivia had no idea that her actions had set off a chain of events that would alter the course of her career. She received a call from her supervisor, asking for her to report to the office as soon as possible. "What's going on?" she asked, sensing that something was wrong. "You've caused quite an uproar," the supervisor said, her tone serious. "The billionaire you kicked off the plane? His lawyers are threatening a lawsuit. The media is all over it. The board wants a full report on your actions." Olivia's heart sank as she realized the gravity of what had happened. She had thought she was just doing her job, but now the consequences of her prejudice were becoming clear. She'd been a cog in a much larger machine, and the machine was about to turn against her. Her job, her reputation, and possibly even her future in the airline industry hung in the balance. The reality of her situation set in, and she was forced to confront the aftermath of her actions. As the media continued to cover the unfolding drama, Marcus was approached by several members of the airline's board. They were eager to meet with him in person to discuss the situation. "We need to make things right," one of them said. "What can we do to resolve this?" Marcus, having already made up his mind, leaned in with a smile. "I think the best way to resolve this is for me to become part of the solution," he said. At first, the board members were taken aback. But Marcus continued, laying out his plan for the future of the airline. "If you want to restore trust, if you want to change the culture here, I'm your man," he said. "And I'll need control, full control, of the company to make it happen." The board, recognizing the opportunity to save face and rebrand, was quick to agree. The details were worked out in the following hours, and Marcus was offered a seat at the table. But he didn't stop there, he was going to take full ownership. The negotiations took place behind closed doors, but the air was thick with tension as Marcus set the stage for the acquisition. Using his wealth, legal team, and business acumen, he initiated the process to purchase a controlling share of the airline. He strategically bought up stocks, securing the necessary assets to gain influence over the board and management. As his moves gained momentum, the public continued to rally behind him, further pressuring the airline to accept his terms. Marcus had turned what started as a personal affront into an opportunity to reshape an entire industry. The news of his acquisition spread like wildfire, and the world watched in awe as the billionaire took control of the very company that had wronged him. The acquisition wasn't just about money, it was about justice, empowerment, and creating a lasting change that would leave a legacy far beyond a single incident. After weeks of intense negotiations, Marcus finally emerged victorious. On the day of the official announcement, the media descended upon the airline's headquarters. Journalists crowded outside, eager to report on the dramatic turn of events. Inside the boardroom, Marcus sat with the newly reformed board, ready to address the public. The CEO, who had stepped down under pressure, was replaced with a new leadership team led by Marcus himself. Marcus stepped up to the podium, his calm demeanor contrasting with the excitement buzzing around the room. Today marks a new chapter for this airline, he began, his voice steady but filled with conviction. I've taken control because I believe in the future of this company, one that prioritizes fairness, equality, and respect for all its passengers and employees. It's time for a change, and I'm here to make sure that change is not only implemented but sustained. The room was silent, the weight of his words settling in. Outside, the news cameras captured every moment, broadcasting the new direction the airline was about to take to millions of viewers. One of Marcus's first acts as the new CEO was to implement sweeping changes aimed at addressing the toxic culture that had allowed employees like Olivia to operate with impunity. He instituted mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all staff, from flight attendants to upper management. No one will be allowed to treat customers with the kind of disrespect that I experienced, Marcus stated in a company-wide memo. He also hired a team of external consultants to assess the company's corporate culture and offer recommendations for improvement. Internally, the airline underwent a profound transformation. Employees who had been there for years were given opportunities to rise through the ranks based on merit rather than their connections or status. The new leadership team emphasized transparency and accountability, ensuring that every decision made was rooted in the values of respect and equality. For Marcus, it was not just about fixing an isolated incident, it was about building a company that would be an example of fairness in an industry that often overlooked such concerns. As the airline shifted its focus under Marcus's leadership, Olivia's fate became a subject of growing speculation. She had been placed on temporary leave pending an investigation into her conduct. However, the media continued to target her, portraying her as the symbol of corporate prejudice. Marcus was aware that Olivia's actions had sparked the entire chain of events that led to his acquisition of the airline. Despite this, he chose not to let personal animosity cloud his judgment. In a move that surprised many, Marcus chose to address Olivia's situation with a mixture of fairness and accountability. I believe in second chances, he said in an internal memo, but only if the person is willing to learn and grow from their mistakes. Olivia was offered the opportunity to undergo an intensive training program in customer relations, diversity, and leadership. It was a difficult decision for her. Her pride had been bruised, but she realized that she could either embrace the changes or leave the airline altogether. The pressure to conform to Marcus's new vision was immense, but it also opened up a path for personal growth, should she choose to take it. With the culture shifting internally, Marcus turned his attention to the airline's public image. He knew that to truly succeed, the airline would need to undergo a complete rebranding to distance itself from its troubled past. The first step was changing the name of the airline, symbolizing a new era. The new name was carefully selected to evoke feelings of inclusivity and trust. Marketing campaigns were rolled out to promote the airline's new values, emphasizing diversity, excellent customer service, and corporate responsibility. One of the first advertisements featured a diverse group of passengers from all walks of life, showing that the airline was now a place for everyone. Marcus ensured that the ad campaign highlighted the changes that had been implemented and the airline's commitment to creating a welcoming environment for passengers and employees alike. The public response was overwhelmingly positive, with many praising Marcus for his leadership and dedication to improving the industry. The airline's stock prices began to rise, reflecting the renewed faith in the company's future. As the airline began to turn a profit under Marcus's leadership, he set his sights on expanding its reach. He understood that the aviation industry was undergoing significant changes, with sustainability and eco-friendliness becoming top priorities. Marcus invested heavily in green technologies, such as more fuel-efficient aircraft and carbon offset programs. He also began to focus on improving customer experiences by offering more personalized services, from loyalty programs to in-flight entertainment options designed to make every passenger feel valued. Marcus's vision for the future of the airline went beyond just financial success. It was about setting a new standard for the industry. "We are not just here to make money," he said in a company interview. "We're here to make a difference, to prove that businesses can be successful while also doing good for the world. We are committed to a sustainable future, both in the skies and on the ground." His bold initiatives earned him recognition as a forward-thinking leader, and the airline began to attract attention from major environmental organizations for its commitment to green aviation. Years passed, and the airline Marcus had taken over flourished under his leadership. It became known not only for its high-quality service and forward-thinking business model but also for its role in changing the airline industry's approach to diversity and inclusion. Marcus's story became legendary, an example of how adversity could be turned into opportunity. The airline's success story was often featured in business magazines, and Marcus himself was invited to speak at conferences about corporate leadership, resilience, and how to overcome systemic prejudice. Olivia, who had worked hard to redeem herself, became a vocal advocate for the very changes she had once resisted. She spoke at corporate events about the importance of understanding diverse perspectives and how her own transformation had changed the way she viewed her role in the industry. The airline, under Marcus's guidance, was not just a business, it was a movement. It stood as a testament to the power of leadership, vision, and the ability to turn a negative experience into a life-changing triumph for all involved. Years after Marcus's acquisition of the airline, he found himself back on a plane, this time as a passenger. As he sat comfortably in his seat, he couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought him here. The flight attendant who greeted him was a smiling young woman, eager to provide excellent service. There was no hint of prejudice in her demeanor, no slights or dismissive actions. She treated him with respect, just as she did with every other passenger. Marcus smiled as she handed him a menu. "Thank you," he said, looking up at her. She returned the smile, unaware of the history that had shaped the airline and its transformation. Marcus leaned back in his seat, knowing that he had not only changed an airline but had also left a lasting legacy for generations to come. A legacy of integrity, empowerment, and justice. As the airline continued to thrive under Marcus's leadership, national recognition began to pour in. The company was honored with numerous awards for innovation in both business practices and customer service. Media outlets praised the airline for its transformation, often citing Marcus's bold leadership as the catalyst for change. The airline was not only successful but became a symbol of what was possible when a business prioritizes integrity, fairness, and sustainability. Marcus was featured on the cover of major magazines, hailed as a visionary in the corporate world. More than just business accolades, Marcus's work also garnered him recognition for his advocacy on social issues. He was invited to speak at universities, summits, and conventions, sharing his experiences and lessons learned from turning around an airline that had been mired in controversy. His message resonated with aspiring entrepreneurs, particularly those from underrepresented communities, showing them that with the right mindset and determination, they could overcome obstacles and succeed in the corporate world. Marcus's approach to business began to influence other industries. His commitment to social responsibility, diversity, and sustainability set a new standard for companies to follow. Other major corporations took note of his leadership style, incorporating some of his key practices into their own operations. Marcus had successfully demonstrated that profitability and ethical practices were not mutually exclusive but could coexist. His influence began to reshape not just the airline industry but corporate America as a whole. As Marcus's reputation grew, he was asked to advise other businesses on how to incorporate diversity and sustainability into their models. His thoughts were sought after by government officials, policymakers, and business leaders alike. His once radical ideas, such as promoting inclusion in traditionally exclusive spaces and implementing green technologies, became mainstream. He had transformed not just an airline, but the very fabric of corporate culture in the modern world. For Marcus, the success of the airline and the changes he had made to the corporate landscape were deeply personal. His childhood had been filled with hardships, and he knew firsthand what it felt like to be treated unfairly. He had worked tirelessly to climb the corporate ladder, often facing discrimination and bias along the way. Owning the airline was not just about wealth. It was about proving to himself that perseverance and dignity could overcome any adversity. The achievement felt especially sweet knowing that the very system that had once looked down on him was now under his control. In quiet moments, Marcus would reflect on his journey. The sight of the airline's planes soaring through the sky symbolized his personal triumph over the challenges he had faced. He had built something that would last beyond his lifetime, a company that was driven by purpose, not profit alone. He had shown the world that it was possible to achieve greatness without compromising one's values, and in doing so, had left an indelible mark on history. With his airline thriving, Marcus sought to take the company global. He began to forge partnerships with international airlines, offering routes that connected cities around the world while maintaining the high standards of service and inclusion that had become the hallmark of his brand. Expansion was not just about growth. It was about spreading the message of positive change and corporate responsibility to a global audience. International passengers took notice of the airline's reputation, choosing to fly with a company that aligned with their values. Marcus's emphasis on sustainability became a major selling point, attracting customers who cared about the environmental impact of their travel. As new routes opened up, the airline's brand began to represent not only luxury and efficiency but also social consciousness. Marcus's global vision had become a reality, and the airline was now operating at a scale he had once only dreamed of. The impact of Marcus's leadership extended far beyond the boundaries of his own company. The airline industry as a whole began to shift in response to the changes he had championed. Other airlines took cues from Marcus's model, introducing their own diversity programs, sustainability initiatives, and customer service improvements. Competition intensified, but in a positive way, as companies scrambled to keep up with the new industry standards. Marcus was proud to see the changes he had fought for being adopted across the industry, knowing that his efforts had made a lasting difference. In a historic moment, industry leaders gathered for a global summit on airline practices, with Marcus as the keynote speaker. The event was a testament to how far the industry had come in such a short time. The room was filled with leaders who now understood that their responsibility went beyond profits. It was about creating a sustainable future for the airline industry and its passengers. Marcus's influence had helped shape a new era, one where businesses prioritized both success and social good. Despite his incredible success, Marcus never lost sight of his roots. He was passionate about giving back to the community that had supported him throughout his career. As the CEO of the airline, he established a foundation dedicated to helping underprivileged students access higher education and professional development. His goal was to provide the same opportunities to young people that he had fought for in his own life, ensuring that the next generation had the resources they needed to succeed. The foundation funded scholarships for students from marginalized communities, offering them the chance to attend top universities and pursue careers in business, technology, and the arts. Marcus also partnered with schools to create mentorship programs where students could learn from industry professionals. His commitment to uplifting others not only shaped the future of countless young people but also reinforced his belief that success was most meaningful when shared with those in need. As time passed, Marcus's focus shifted toward ensuring the future of his airline and his legacy. He began to groom the next generation of leaders within the company, ensuring that his vision for inclusivity and sustainability would continue long after his tenure as CEO. He took great pride in seeing young leaders rise through the ranks, many of whom had been with the company since its transformation began. It was clear that the culture Marcus had instilled was thriving, and the company was well-positioned to continue its success for years to come. Marcus also began to focus on his family, ensuring that his children and grandchildren understood the values that had driven him throughout his career. His goal was to leave them with more than just wealth. He wanted to pass on the lessons of resilience, integrity, and the power of positive change. As he watched his children take on leadership roles within the company, he couldn't help but feel a deep sense of pride, knowing that his legacy would live on through them. No story of success is without its challenges, and Marcus soon found himself facing one of the most significant tests of his leadership when a global crisis hit the airline industry. A sudden economic downturn, combined with unforeseen geopolitical tensions, created a perfect storm that threatened to undo much of what Marcus had worked to build. Airlines around the world were grounded, and the aviation industry faced widespread layoffs, furloughs, and closures. Marcus had to act quickly and decisively to navigate his company through these turbulent waters. Drawing on his years of experience and his deep understanding of his company's values, Marcus implemented a series of bold measures to stabilize the airline. He made the difficult decision to temporarily suspend certain routes while focusing on the most profitable and essential ones. His commitment to employee welfare remained steadfast, and despite the financial strain, he ensured that no worker was laid off. Instead, Marcus instituted a retraining program, upskilling employees for new roles within the company. His leadership during this time solidified his reputation as a compassionate and strategic CEO, capable of managing even the most dire circumstances. The crisis tested not just Marcus's strategic acumen but also the trust that had been built between the airline and its customers. Many travelers were hesitant to book flights during such uncertain times, and some of the airline's long-standing corporate clients expressed concern over the airline's ability to rebound. Marcus knew that the key to overcoming the crisis was not only to manage the finances but also to restore confidence in the brand. In response, Marcus launched an ambitious customer outreach campaign. He appeared on national television, addressing the public directly to explain the steps the airline was taking to ensure safety, reliability, and continued excellence in service. He promised to maintain the company's commitment to sustainable practices, even in the face of adversity, and assured customers that their experience would remain a top priority. Within months, the airline's reputation was not only restored but strengthened, as customers appreciated the transparency and dedication Marcus had shown during such a difficult period. As Marcus led the airline back to stability, his actions caught the attention of the broader corporate world. Business schools began to study his crisis management techniques, and leadership experts hailed his decision-making as a textbook example of how to guide a company through a downturn without compromising its core values. Marcus's ability to make tough decisions with compassion and foresight became a case study in leadership excellence. He was invited to speak at various corporate forums, sharing his insights with other business leaders who were eager to learn from his experiences. Marcus also began receiving offers to collaborate on books, consulting projects, and leadership training programs. His name had become synonymous with ethical leadership, and many saw him as a beacon of hope in a corporate world often marred by scandals and short-term thinking. Despite all the attention, Marcus remained focused on what mattered most: his company, his team, and the positive impact he could make on the world. He recognized that his role as a leader was never about personal accolades, but about setting an example for others to follow. With the company back on track, Marcus turned his attention to enhancing the passenger experience. He understood that in an increasingly competitive market, the airline had to offer more than just affordable flights. It had to provide an experience that customers would remember. He introduced several groundbreaking initiatives, such as personalized in-flight entertainment, where passengers could tailor their entertainment options based on their preferences. He also expanded the airline's loyalty program to reward frequent travelers with exclusive perks and access to luxury lounges. To further differentiate the airline from its competitors, Marcus introduced a range of premium services focused on comfort and convenience. Private suites on long-haul flights, priority boarding and fine dining options became available to high-end customers, while still maintaining the airline's reputation for affordability and excellent customer service across all classes. These innovations quickly set the airline apart in the eyes of consumers, solidifying its place as one of the most forward-thinking and customer-centric airlines in the world. As the airline's financial footing grew stronger, Marcus knew that expanding the fleet would be crucial to meeting growing demand and extending the company's reach. However, this expansion wasn't just about adding more planes to the skies, it was about upgrading the fleet with the latest sustainable technologies. Marcus made a strategic decision to invest in fuel-efficient aircraft that produced fewer emissions, aligning with his ongoing commitment to sustainability. Additionally, he prioritized the creation of a more diverse fleet that could cater to a wider variety of routes. He introduced smaller regional planes that allowed the airline to offer more direct flights to underserved cities, while still maintaining large, long-haul aircraft for international routes. The expansion of the fleet not only increased the airline's capacity but also improved its efficiency, allowing it to operate more cost-effectively and reduce its environmental impact. Marcus's forward-thinking approach to fleet expansion set the stage for the airline to continue its growth for decades to come. Technology and innovation. Marcus was always a forward thinker, and one of his most important moves was embracing technology to give the airline a competitive edge. While many other airlines were still relying on outdated booking systems, Marcus invested heavily in upgrading the airline's technology infrastructure. He implemented AI-driven customer service systems that could quickly resolve customer inquiries, ensuring that passengers had a seamless experience from the moment they booked their flight to when they arrived at their destination. In addition, Marcus championed the use of blockchain technology to streamline the airline's ticketing and payment systems. By adopting blockchain, the airline reduced the risk of fraud, improved security, and made transactions faster and more transparent for customers. He also integrated data analytics to better understand passenger preferences, allowing the airline to offer personalized recommendations and services. These technological innovations helped the airline stay ahead of its competitors, positioning it as one of the most cutting-edge companies in the aviation industry. As his company flourished, Marcus turned his attention to one of his greatest passions, mentoring the next generation of business leaders. He established an executive mentorship program within the company, providing young leaders with the guidance and support they needed to succeed. Marcus understood that leadership wasn't just about managing a company, it was about nurturing talent and empowering others to lead with integrity and vision. Through his mentorship program, Marcus helped develop a new wave of leaders who shared his values of diversity, inclusivity, and sustainability. Many of his mentor went on to hold senior roles within the company, contributing to its ongoing success. Marcus took great pride in seeing his protégés flourish, knowing that the future of the airline was in capable hands. His legacy was no longer just about the airline he had built, it was about the leaders he had nurtured and the positive changes they would continue to bring to the world. With his immense wealth and success, Marcus turned his attention to global philanthropy, founding a series of initiatives aimed at addressing critical issues such as poverty, education, and environmental conservation. His charitable organization worked with local communities to provide resources and support in underdeveloped regions, focusing on empowering people to create lasting change in their own lives. Marcus's approach was always to work with, not for, the communities he served, ensuring that his contributions had a sustainable and meaningful impact. The Foundation's projects ranged from building schools and providing scholarships to funding clean energy projects in underserved areas. Marcus's philanthropic efforts were lauded for their long-term focus and their emphasis on self-sufficiency. As a result, his name became synonymous with global social change, and he was invited to speak at high-profile international events to promote his vision for a better, more equitable world. Marcus's influence extended far beyond the corporate world. He had become a global advocate for progress and justice. As Marcus grew older, he began to think about his legacy and how he could ensure that his work would continue long after he was gone. He established a trust fund dedicated to sustaining the airline's core values, ensuring that future generations of leaders would uphold the principles of fairness, diversity, and sustainability that had guided his work. Marcus also took steps to ensure the continuity of his philanthropic efforts, setting up a network of charitable foundations that would continue to operate independently of his direct involvement. He had long been committed to making the world a better place, and he was determined to leave behind a legacy that would continue to have a positive impact long into the future. His final years were spent securing the future of both his business and his charitable endeavors, confident that the world he had helped shape would continue to thrive. A new rival. As Marcus's airline continued to grow and solidify its position in the market, a new challenge arose, one that was unlike anything he had encountered before. A rival airline, backed by a group of wealthy investors, suddenly appeared on the scene. This new competitor was aggressively undercutting prices and offering massive discounts on flights, quickly attracting a substantial customer base. Many feared this rival would dominate the market, threatening to push Marcus's airline out of the competition. Rather than panic, Marcus saw this as an opportunity to innovate. Instead of matching the competitor's low prices, he focused on delivering unmatched value through superior service. His strategy was to create an experience that no other airline could replicate, no matter how low the ticket prices were. He introduced exclusive membership programs, offering personalized travel services, access to private terminals, and luxury amenities. Marcus's commitment to quality and customer experience quickly turned the tide, as travelers realized that while cheaper tickets might seem appealing, the value his airline offered was second to none. This approach not only helped him retain loyal customers but also attracted new ones, ensuring his airline's dominance in the long term. Marcus had proven his ability to navigate crises and grow his company into a global powerhouse. With the airline solidly established in the U.S. market, he began looking beyond the country's borders to further expand his empire. His vision was to make the airline a truly global brand, connecting people from every corner of the world. He set his sights on establishing new routes to Asia, Europe, and Africa, ensuring that the airline would not only cater to the needs of American passengers but would also become a major player on the global stage. To achieve this, Marcus carefully analyzed the international market and identified strategic locations where the airline could have the greatest impact. He forged partnerships with local carriers in different regions, creating a network of global alliances that made international travel more accessible and affordable for passengers. As a result, Marcus's airline quickly became known as one of the best global carriers, offering seamless connections, world-class service, and competitive pricing across continents. His commitment to expanding the company while maintaining its core values of excellence and customer service was instrumental in cementing the airline's place as a global leader. While Marcus's business acumen was widely recognized, he always emphasized that the true strength of the airline lay in its people. Over the years, he had created a corporate culture that felt more like a family than a traditional workplace. Employees were treated with respect, their contributions valued, and their well-being prioritized. Marcus believed that a motivated and happy workforce would lead to better outcomes for the company, and he worked tirelessly to foster an environment where everyone, from pilots to customer service agents, felt like a part of the company's success. This focus on culture paid off in numerous ways. Employee turnover was low, and morale was high. The company was frequently ranked as one of the best places to work, attracting top talent from all over the world. Marcus's leadership style emphasized collaboration, transparency, and open communication, ensuring that everyone had a voice in shaping the company's future. His airline's culture became a model for other companies, demonstrating that when employees are treated with respect and given the tools to succeed, the entire organization thrives. With the airline industry's environmental impact often scrutinized, Marcus decided to lead the charge in sustainability efforts. He introduced groundbreaking initiatives aimed at reducing the airline's carbon footprint and increasing its energy efficiency. From investing in electric aircraft to incorporating sustainable fuel sources, Marcus was determined to make his airline a pioneer in eco-friendly aviation. He also championed the use of biodegradable materials in packaging and worked with suppliers to ensure that all products offered on board were sourced responsibly. Marcus's commitment to sustainability was met with both praise and skepticism. Some critics questioned whether the costs of such initiatives would outweigh the benefits. However, Marcus believed that the long-term benefits would not only help the planet but also position his airline as a leader in a rapidly changing industry. The initiatives were a resounding success, with the airline receiving numerous awards for its environmental efforts. Passengers began to take notice, and many appreciated the company's dedication to making air travel more sustainable, further solidifying Marcus's reputation as an industry visionary. Despite his incredible success, Marcus remained a private individual who preferred to keep his personal life out of the public eye. However, as his company grew and he became a household name, the media couldn't help but focus on his personal story. There was intrigue surrounding his background, his journey to billionaire status, and his approach to life outside the boardroom. Marcus was often photographed at philanthropic events, vacationing in exotic locations, and spending time with his family. Marcus maintained a strong sense of humility and never allowed his wealth and fame to overshadow his values. He continued to live in the same modest home he had before his success, and he remained grounded despite the vast fortune he had accumulated. His family was at the center of his life, and he often spoke about the importance of work-life balance. His success was not just about building a company, it was about creating a life that allowed him to give back, spend time with loved ones, and enjoy the fruits of his labor. Public scrutiny. As Marcus's airline continued to dominate the industry, the media's fascination with his success reached new heights. His story, how a black billionaire had taken control of an airline and transformed it into a global powerhouse, captured the attention of journalists and news outlets worldwide. There were countless interviews, documentaries, and articles written about him, and he became a frequent subject of media scrutiny. While many celebrated his success, others were critical of his methods and the rapid growth of his empire. Despite the media frenzy, Marcus remained composed and focused on his goals. He understood the importance of public perception but refused to let it distract him from his mission. He knew that critics would always exist, but he was determined to prove them wrong by continuing to run his company with integrity and staying true to his values. He used the media attention as a platform to speak on issues that mattered to him, such as diversity in business, environmental sustainability, and the importance of mentorship. By doing so, he turned public scrutiny into an opportunity to further his message and influence positive change. Mergers and acquisitions. As Marcus's airline flourished, the pressure to remain competitive increased. To further strengthen his position in the market, he began considering strategic mergers and acquisitions. One of the most significant challenges he faced was evaluating potential companies to merge with, companies that could either complement his airline's growth or pose a threat to its future. Each decision had far-reaching consequences, and Marcus knew that any misstep could disrupt the delicate balance he had built over the years. After careful analysis, Marcus identified a smaller regional carrier that offered an extensive route network in underserved areas. The merger would not only expand his airline's footprint but also allow it to tap into new markets. However, the merger came with its own set of challenges, including the integration of corporate cultures and aligning operational strategies. Marcus took a hands-on approach, ensuring that the transition was as smooth as possible and that employees from both companies felt supported. The merger was ultimately a success, leading to an expansion of the airline services and a stronger position in the global market. As the airline industry continued to evolve, Marcus knew that embracing technology was key to staying ahead. He invested heavily in digital innovations that would redefine the customer experience. One of his first projects was a state-of-the-art mobile app that allowed passengers to manage every aspect of their journey, from booking flights to ordering in-flight meals, to tracking luggage. This app became a hit as it streamlined the entire travel experience and made it more personalized than ever before. To further enhance the customer experience, Marcus implemented biometric boarding and self-check-in systems, making airport processes faster and more efficient. He also partnered with tech companies to introduce smart cabins that featured touchless controls and personalized entertainment options. These technological advancements not only made the airline more efficient but also strengthened its reputation as an industry leader in innovation. As passengers experienced these improvements firsthand, they became loyal customers, further cementing Marcus's airline's place at the top of the aviation world. Preparing for the future. As Marcus approached the peak of his success, he began to think about the future of the airline beyond his leadership. While he had always been deeply involved in the company's day-to-day operations, Marcus recognized that the airline would need fresh leadership to continue its growth trajectory. He began to groom a successor, a rising star within the company who shared his vision for the airline's future. This process was not without its challenges, as Marcus had poured so much of his personal identity into the company. The thought of stepping back was a difficult decision, but one that he knew was necessary for the long-term health of the airline. Over the next few years, Marcus worked closely with his chosen successor, ensuring they had the skills and knowledge to take the company to the next level. He gradually transitioned out of the spotlight, making way for the new leadership team to take charge. His successor embraced Marcus's values of innovation, customer service, and sustainability, ensuring the company remained on course. Marcus's strategic planning and focus on legacy paid off, as his airline continued to thrive even after his departure from the day-to-day operations. His decision to step down was met with widespread admiration, and he became a mentor to other CEOs in the industry. A billionaire's impact. In the years that followed, Marcus's impact on the airline industry was undeniable. Not only had he built a thriving business empire, but he had also changed the industry for the better. His company became a case study in successful business practices, showing how innovation, customer care, and sustainability could come together to create a global powerhouse. Marcus's legacy was one of perseverance and vision. He had turned an unjust situation on its head and, in doing so, had redefined what it meant to be a leader in business. Beyond the airline, Marcus's philanthropic endeavors became a cornerstone of his legacy. He continued to invest in education, mentoring young entrepreneurs, and supporting charitable organizations that focused on uplifting underserved communities. His story inspired countless individuals, particularly Black entrepreneurs, to follow in his footsteps. Marcus had proven that no matter the obstacles, determination and a vision for change could reshape the world. His story would be told for generations, not just as a business success, but as a testament to the power of resilience and the impact of one individual's journey to overcome adversity and achieve greatness.